So, what's up, guys? I'm Hammer, and I work for MLH. I work on putting together a lot of cool events, such as Hackcon like this. I also work with a lot of event organizers to procure vendors. Nick told you a little bit of a story about Mad Hacks and how they were at a $10,000 deficit. I was the point person trying to help them procure their vendors and lower their costs for that. So, today, we're going to talk about vendors. But before we do so, let's talk a little bit about what a vendor is. A vendor is a service provider, and they provide you with a service in return for money, either a service or a product. So you're putting on a hackathon. Let's talk about what kind of vendors you need for your hackathon before we jump into the logistics of those vendors. So you need a food vendor because without food, your hackers would die, and no one wants dying hackers on their hands. You need AV equipment because you guys want to host demos at the end of your hackathon, and you also want to present during your hackathon, so you need a screen like this, you need a projector like that. You need internet because without internet, a hackathon is just a bunch of people staring at their screens. You need electrical equipment because people need to charge their laptops. You need furniture because people need a place to sit. These are all necessities of a hackathon. Swag isn't really necessary, but it's something that's nice to have at a hackathon. So let's jump into it. Food. So I like to make a point that like food equals memories. A lot of times people are going to remember the hackathon that you put on by the food that you provide to them. Like think about your grandma in this instance. When you think about your grandma, you think of the warm cookies that she makes for you, the food that she makes for you, and how good that is, and how good that makes you feel. People are going to go to your hackathon, and if you serve really good food, it's going to bring back those memories of your hackathon. So what kind of food do you need at your hackathon? You want to think about food and think about the people who are coming to your hackathon. You want to have a wide variety of food. So you want to have vegetarian options, you want to have vegan options, you want to have several different options, halal options, kosher options if there's Jewish people, Muslim people coming to your hackathon. Depends on who's coming to your hackathon, and you can accommodate all types of people based on this. So we've talked a little bit about this before. The rule of 7, we like to say that like all your food should average out to $7 per person per meal. So that breakfast could be a little bit less, it could be $3 to $4, dinner could be a little bit more, and lunch could be less than dinner, but it should average out to be about $7 per person. So refreshments, you need energy drinks, you need refreshments, you need snacks, and you need utensils. So where do you go for this? Costco. Costco's your best friend for this. You want to buy in bulk. You don't want to go to ShopRite and pick out little by little, but you want to buy in bulk because you're going to end up saving a lot this way. And energy drinks. People are going to be hacking for 24 to 48 hours straight, and they can't do that without energy drink. They can't do that without coffee on hand. A lot of times you can get Red Bull to sponsor your event or have one of the Red Bull reps come to your hackathon, and they'll give out Red Bull for free. And you can get coffee from any types of coffee vendor within your area. So let's jump into AV equipment. So what do you need in terms of AV equipment? So think about your demo day. When you're demoing your hacks, what does this look like to you? Are people going to be projecting on a screen? Are you going to have a stage? Like right now we don't have a stage, but do you need a stage so people can see you? Do you need mics? Do you need speakers? Do you need like camera equipment, stuff like that? So some of the logistics for this. A lot of times you can get the AV equipment for free from your university. And I know a lot of you are putting on hackathons within your university and you're not going outside to find a venue. I know you guys are organizing a hackathon. Did you guys get your venue from the university or do you guys get it from outside? Mm-hmm. So they provide the AV equipment for you? Uh-huh. What about you for Hack Dartmouth? Yeah. Yeah. So as you guys can see, like a lot of times people go to their university for this AV equipment, but if there's an instance where you can't get it for free, you'd have to go to an outside vendor. And you can either rent this AV equipment or you can buy this AV equipment. There's pluses and minuses to both. If you buy the AV equipment, you could have it for the following year and you won't have to spend any money on AV equipment following that year. So pricing. Here it can be anywhere between $0 to $1,000 based on whether your school gives it to you for free or you decide to buy it, but it should never, ever, ever go over $1,000 for this equipment. So we talked about food, we talked about AV equipment, now let's jump into internet. Internet. You need internet for your hackathon. I can't stress this enough. People need internet. Nick said this before, internet is the most important thing to people at hackathons. So let's talk about logistics for internet. A lot of times internet vendors are not the best people to deal with. I'm just going to say that up front. Like, they're not easy to deal with. They obviously know more than you in terms of internet. So the best way to go into this is to read up on what you're going to get. You want to be an expert in this field before you reach out to the internet vendor, because a lot of times they're going to give you a non-fair price and you don't know how to negotiate it because you don't know what you're actually getting. So you want to think about bandwidth. Bandwidth. Look at this like a doorway. How many people can you fit in that doorway at once? How many people are coming to your hackathon? And how many people do you need to accommodate in terms of internet? So on average, people will bring 2.5 devices that need to connect to the internet. Their phones, they need to connect their laptops, and sometimes if they're hacking hardware, they also need to connect the hardware to the internet. So you want to think about that amount of devices per person and make sure you accommodate for that. If you only accommodate like one person each for the internet, then I think like, a lot of times we see the internet crashing, and that's why. So if you're hosting your hackathon at your school, a good way to go about doing this is to go to the IT department for internet, and a lot of times they'll provide it for free. But if you're having like a huge hackathon, it's hard for the IT department to accommodate this many people on the internet alongside with everybody at the university at once. So in that instance, you would go to an outside vendor. And I suggest you go to like event vendors, and they all provide internet at like concerts, big vendors for that. And if you can't find any vendors within your area, we have a long list of vendors you can go to. So feel free to reach out to us. Some pro tips in terms of internet. Ethernet cords are great because when the Wi-Fi gets overloaded, like Ethernet cords take the mitigation off of that, and they like make sure that the internet doesn't crash all throughout your hackathon. You also want to focus on configuration. So when you get the internet, who's gonna be setting it up? Is the point person there throughout your hackathon? What happens if it goes down? Do you know how to like bring it back up? You need that point person there, and you need to make sure that they're accessible at all times throughout your hackathon, because you never know what time or when the internet may go down. You never want a hackathon where the internet goes down for a long period of time, because people will be displeased, and this is what they'll remember about your hackathon. So we talked about food, we talked about AV equipment, internet. Let's jump into electrical and furniture. So, some logistics for this. What kind of furniture should you get for your hackathon? I like to usually think of an outdoor party for this. Like, think if you're having a graduation party in your backyard. You want to have long white tables and foldable chairs. Hackers are not expecting you to be hosting like a hackathon with like countertops that are like marble and like chairs that are cushioned. They don't need that. They just need foldable chairs and a long white table. That's it. So in terms of pricing, the furniture costs, you can either rent or you can buy. But if you're renting, chairs should never be more than $2 a piece. Tables should never be more than $9. And if you need a tent, if you're having any outdoor activities, they should never be more than $100 to $150 each, based on how big your tent is going to be. So in terms of electrical cost, you can either rent it or you can buy it. There's ups and downsides for both. Obviously, like if you buy it, you'll have it for next year, and you won't have to spend on this for the following year. So if you buy power strips, it's $5 to $6 each. If you rent, it's $2 to $4. If you buy extension cords, it's $4 to $5 each. If you rent, it's $1 to $3 each. And a lot of times I go to Amazon for this, or you can also go to your university. Sometimes I have found universities that do sell excess extension cords and excess power strips, and they will sell it for less money. So the vendor that you want to go to if you're going to be renting this is a party rental vendor. And you can bundle up the chairs and the tables as well as the electrical equipment all within one order. Party rental vendors have all of this on hand. And if you're getting a bulk order of chairs, tables, electrical equipment, this will make the price a lot less. So if you're going to go with renting all of this stuff, I would recommend going to a party rental vendor within your area. Try not to go outside of your area, because then they'll charge you a lot more. Okay, so we talked about all the necessities. Now let's talk about swag. With swag, no idea is a bad idea. We've literally seen everything done. Like Hackcon, for example, you guys are seeing laptop sleeves here. You guys have seen t-shirts. What's the weirdest swag item that you guys have seen? Really? What about you? No way. For like, for sleeping on planes. I saw you had your hand up. Never mind. Yeah, I thought you had your hand up earlier. Oh, really? Yeah, I mean, as you can see, like, everything's been done. No idea is a bad idea. So, for vendors, our preferred vendor is brand makers. We've gone to them for so many different things. Like, we have had so many different ideas. We're just like, oh, we want to do this. Like, we were like, oh, we want to do laptop sleeves for Hackcon. Can you guys do that? They're like, oh, yeah, we'll figure it out. Like, they're a good vendor to go to if you like have a weird swag item that you're thinking of. We can always put you into contact with them if you're interested. Custom ink is good if you're like, if you don't want to deal with people going online. You just like put in the order online and you place it and it's there. Teespring, a lot of the times Teesprings will sponsor hackathons and they'll give you t-shirts for free in return. Local print shops also do the same thing. If you guys go out to them and tell them that you're marketing their print shop through giving out t-shirts from their print shop, a lot of times they will give you the t-shirts for free. Now, pricing varies based on what you're going to get, but let's say you guys are going to get t-shirts. So t-shirts can vary from $4 to $10 based on how many people you're giving these t-shirts out to. Also based on like what you're printing on the t-shirts. Is the t-shirt going to be black? Is it going to be blue? What color is the t-shirt? Where are you placing the labels on? Is there going to be a label on the front? Is there going to be a label on the back? Is there going to be a label on the sleeve? For each label, each area that you have it on, it's going to be extra money. And for each person, that money does add up. So you have to take that into consideration. So some pro tips for swag. Quality is very, very important when you guys are ordering swag. People are going to wear this item. Let's say they wear it once a week for 52 weeks. That means, and they interact with about 1,000 people on campus each time. That's 52,000 people that they're interacting with. That is a huge marketing instance for you guys to market your event. If they are wearing your t-shirt around, they're gonna be like, oh, what is that? What is Hack Dartmouth? I thought that was hacky to you, but yeah. They'll be like, oh, what's Hack Dartmouth? And you'll tell them about Hack Dartmouth. So it's a good marketing tool, so you want to make sure it's quality so people don't just use it throughout your hackathon and then put it in the back of their closet afterwards. You also want to consider sponsorship. Trying to get a swag vendor to sponsor your hackathon will give you the swag item for free. Now, I wanted to stress that you guys look at all of these vendors beforehand and make sure like the food is booked, the AV equipment is booked, the internet's booked, the electrical and furniture is booked before the swag. A lot of times like events will get excited about the swag and they'll be like, oh, let's like create our swag item, let's like book that now. But then they'll spend so much money on that and they don't have enough money to actually purchase food. So you guys want to make sure these things are all locked in and you have paid for all of them, and then you assess your budget, and based on how much you have left, you can get your swag item. You might be able to get a more expensive swag item, or you might not be able to purchase a swag item that's like that much money because you don't have enough in the budget. So, some pro tips in terms of like dealing with vendors in general. Negotiation. You want to negotiate with the vendors for pricing. They know that the price they give you is not the end price. You guys can negotiate that price with them and bring it down. A lot of times students will just take the price and be like, okay, and they'll pay it. But try to negotiate with them because a lot of times they will lower the price with you. And you want to leverage. You want to make sure that like, say for example, you're purchasing food. You want to create a list of places around your campus that you guys like to eat at. And you want to reach out to all of those places and leverage the prices based on those places against one another. Tell them, oh, this sub-store gave me food for this much money. Like, what, can you do better? And then a lot of times they will do better because they want your business. So same vendors is really good for this. I was saying before, like with furniture and electrical equipment, you could get them all bundled up. This comes in hand also with food. You can get your lunch vendors serve lunch on Saturday and Sunday, and because you're getting 2 meals with them instead of 1, you can get a lower price. Or you can have them serve lunch and dinner or breakfast and lunch. A lot of times having the same vendors can lower your price. You're saying, oh, we're getting 2 meals from you. Can you give me a better deal? Contracts. Contracts are really, really important. You want to read these contracts and make sure that you know exactly what you're getting. You've talked to them and they told you what you're going to get, but you want to read this and go over it really, really in depth so that you know exactly what you're going to get and when you're going to get it. You also want to make sure that you put down your deposits on time. And if you don't, like in the contracts, it will say that you will get charged more. So make sure that you put down your deposits on time. and play the part. You guys are students. Like, they know you're going into this and you don't have so much money for your event. Just play the part. Just say, I'm a student, like I'm organizing an event on campus. Make sure that you stress the fact that you're a student, and they will give you a better price in the end. And you want to remember relationship building, because you're hosting this hackathon and you're not hosting it just once, you're probably hosting it several years. Year after year, you're going to host this hackathon. So if you build relationships with these vendors, they will give you better pricing as the years go on, because they'll remember you, and they'll also know how to deal with your venue. They'll know how to set it up. They know how to, like, where to put everything, where everything goes, and they'll accommodate you really well, and it'll be a great overall experience. So I know I went over a lot. Does anyone have any questions? Good. All right.
So, I'm just curious, maybe the Hackcons have done this that you guys are aware of. But like in regards to like internet vendors, so maybe the problem is that you don't have enough access points. Like, can you just like go out to like a Cisco and say, hey, I want to put your product in my Hackathon as a backup. Maybe it's not all on right now, but I need you to be there for me if I need you. Is that something worth my time pursuing?
So a great point person for this is John. He deals with internet vendors a lot. I'm gonna pull him up here just for this question because he loves speaking about internet. I'm not gonna lie about this.
Internet vendors are the worst type of vendors to deal with. They frequently have captive markets where they make up prices. Like, internet vendors love monopolies, they have them. There are two types of internet vendors. There's the ISP, who's providing your bandwidth. Typically they have set pricing. And literally all they do is they run a wire to your building and they charge you like $50,000 for it. Obviously they maintain the infrastructure too. It's way more complex than that. But ISP, you get your bandwidth from. Most schools have a shit ton of bandwidth, so that shouldn't be the problem. The internet vendor is typically the person who sets up your access points, your Ethernet, configures it all so it works. The most common problem is not necessarily a lack of access points, but the configuration of the access points. If they are not configured properly, too many people will automatically connect to the same access point and overload it. So when the internet goes down at an event, it's almost always because the access points are overloaded, not because there's not enough bandwidth. A really quick fix, which Hammer mentioned, is like get hardline Ethernets to every person. It's really not that expensive. It's like on the order of hundreds of dollars, not like thousands of dollars, and it improves the experience exponentially. So if you can afford it, I would highly recommend it, because then you won't have to worry about access points. Like, use Wi-Fi as a backup. You have to get, so you might have to buy like USB adapters. They're basically like $4 or $5, $2 each. They're $2 each for a USB Ethernet adapter. Great. Cool. Hand it back to Hammer.
Yeah. Any other questions? Nope. All right, guys.